Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral for the Queer God Squad. To learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Now to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community.
There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world. In 2026, we are celebrating the 41st anniversary of Hotspots magazine, with Queer News Tonight sharing over 14,000 stories and 12 million views so far.
We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective.
Well, with me today is our Canon theologian, who is the Reverend Dr. Canon, Rob Lee IV. And so we're just going to take some time today to chat about some things. We have a topic for today, but we'll see if we stay on topic or not. So thanks for being here, Rob. And I just want to kick right off with the big stuff. This golden calf situation, this golden statue, which, okay, a narcissist will narcissize, I mean, whatever, but it's the evangelical blessing and excitement about it. Say something about this madness.
It seems laughable, if not to every Christian who's ever read the Bible ever, but also to God, because God's already feels like we've been through this at least once before in a rather similar way to
the Nebuchadnezzar story. It seems
oh my gosh.
Like it was a prediction.
and then you've got the advisor, the spiritual advisor to President Trump, saying that this is not a golden calf. Well, if it quacks like a duck,
right. And why would she just volunteer that information? Because obviously.
Because if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck. This is more than just stroking a narcissist ego. This is downright idolatry.
It is. And of course, there is the Ten Commandments, which they make an idol of by insisting that they be displayed, although it says don't do that. And then there's the story of Nebuchadnezzar, who, the three guys have to go into the fire because they won't play the game. But also, there is the first chapter of Romans where just all kinds of craziness burst out, and then there's punishment, but the punishment isn't about the crazy behavior, like apparently like orgies break out and all kinds of silliness. But no, the problem is it's in this religious context with temple prostitutes and idols, and it says that you're worshiping this thing with the wings, and this thing looks like a guy, and this thing looks like a lion, and so the idolatry was the whole thing that now has been weaponized against same-gender loving people. There's not a date in the story, but there is a lot of craziness around idolatrous worship. And this isn't just something that we've made up. This is from our sacred text and our tradition that, anything that you can see and touch and figure out is not God enough.
Well, and Bishop Darrell, too, I did my dissertation on presidential policy and public theology. I can't think of a similar situation in the entire 250-year history of our nation in which a president thought it was a good idea to act not only the way he's acting in other parts of his administration, but specifically in a way that honors himself. There have been presidents with grandiose egos. We know some of them recently. But that said, this kind of borderline between playing with AI to make it look like he's Jesus healing people, it
looks like he's reasonably fit.
Well, yeah, it's a sick interpretation of what many people espouse to be faith. So,
well, then that's the thing. Of course, he's doing ridiculous things. No one ever thought he was a good person, but to see the people who've tormented me my whole life, the evangelical, especially the hard evangelical into fundamentalism, and now the Christian nationalists, that those were always the people that were very judgy. Everyone was wrong, and they knew why. And they would tell you, and because you're wrong, you're no good, and there should be legislation against you, and you're probably going to hell. And these are the same people now who are supporting this, saying it's a good thing, and that so they've already sort of taken over the politics of the country. Now they're trying to take over the the Christian witness, and it's an ugly thing.
Part of me wonders if they're selling their soul, and maybe you have an answer to this more so than I do, is they're selling their souls. They have this president who will do these actions on the religious right's behalf, so they can look the other way based on the fact that he says he'll grab women in their private parts and do other things. I mean, we've been dealing with this for a decade now. We know who the man is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also deeper than that too. I think we're seeing the dangerous nature of taking power, be it faith power or legislative power or presidential power, and making it in our own image. What does it look like when I have the final say and no one else can stop me? That's what we're dealing with. And it's really, some people are saying, well, hopefully with the midterms, it'll get better. I do hope that. I also worry it might get a lot worse. We may have to go through a lot worse before it actually gets better.
I worry that it will get better for those 2 years.
Right.
Because we see, like, it got pretty bad his first time around. But because we didn't like a woman's laugh,
right.
That was not the reason, by the way.
Right.
But so we gave him we gave a 34-time felon.
Right.
A sexual predator, an adjudicated rapist, credibly accused of dozens more.
Right.
And that we thought, that's better than that woman's laugh.
Well,
really?
And not only was it misogyny, it was racism. The fact that she's a black woman certainly did not help in some voters' eyes. But I do wonder, where do we
done any of this ridiculously in your face immoral stuff?
They would have taken her from the office and done terrible things to her had she done one of these things. But the question becomes, and this is the real question for us as people doing theology in public, as people who are concerned about this, is how do we claw this back? And are we able to? Because President Trump will leave office either by, term limits, hopefully, or by other means if he gets old and succumbs or whatever. But I do think at the end of the day, we're going to have to figure out, like, what is it how do we get back to where we were in terms of power structures, legislative ability, how Congress acts, because Congress has written him a blank check right now. So the question becomes, at the end of the day, the next president is going to spend the next 4 years, if they're a Democrat, cleaning this up. God forbid it be a Republican. I mean, I hate to say it, but God forbid it be someone of his goons who's trying to carry on his legislative agenda.
They've taken over the party,
right?
And they've taken over the government, and they've taken over a sizable chunk of the public face of Christianity. This is storybook.
And to be clear, Bishop, I in theory, I don't have a problem with some Republicans. I need them to speak up, though. I need them to say, this is not okay. This is not the party I've known. My
grandmother was a Republican, but Ford Republicans are not what we're looking at.
Right, exactly. And if any of them have a voice left who kind of have this, I could understand an argument for a fiscal conservatism that, I'm personally not that person.
I don't agree with it, I'm not.
But I could have a conversation with that person.
My safety isn't threatened by it.
Right, right.
What I mean?
They are the ones that are going to have to reclaim their party from these people who that are acting like they've got a blank check again to do whatever they want.
Well, the clock is ticking. So, but I do want to know about. I guess I'll just say names: Paula White and Franklin Graham and what's his name, Jeffries in Dallas. Just how? Because I've had to answer my whole life. How do you reconcile being gay with being Christian? Well, because one I chose and one I am. Gay is the one I am.
Right.
Jesus is the one I chose.
Right.
But and I don't have to reconcile. I don't have to reconcile to you. You just assumed, you made assumptions that what I am is bad, and I just disagree with you. I have a very good experience of myself. So I'm wondering, I want to turn that question on them. How do you reconcile everything you've always preached and made a lot of people miserable doing it? How do you reconcile with this? We were afraid that whoever they are, they're going to take over and they're going to make us worship this false idol and this false god, and they're going to take away all our freedoms. And turns out it's them.
Right.
So how do they work that out in their head?
Well, and to people like Franklin Graham, for instance, take him for example. He lives in my neck of the woods. He's not his father, first of all, which people equate this grand person who really did have a way of speaking to both Democrats and Republicans, whether you agreed with it or not. Franklin Graham had a one-issue mindset that he really drove and has driven his entire life. And now we're seeing the fruits of that.
You believed it or not, you believed he believed it.
Well, he was convinced of it. He was convinced of it.
These people really believe in anything other than power.
Well, power, and it is that idea that absolute power corrupts absolutely. and they have equated power with God. If God is all powerful, then God must want us to smite out those things. And I don't know how I feel about that. God is a God of mercy, of love, of compassion, of grace. And those are the things I was raised to believe. And so we can't both be right in this kind of, or we can say that God is all powerful, and in God's powerfulness, God chose love over over judgment, mercy over these things.
Let her do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I have to be the bad guy?
Well, and that is where the danger of this statue, of these leaders, is they begin to morph God into their image. The most dangerous thing you can do is put God in your own image. And that's the idolatry in it, too.
There is a line written by another Robert Lee, who's a playwright, in Inherit the Wind. And it's a wonderful line where the teacher in the Scopes Monkey trial is in trouble for things he had said in class, science. And but one of the things he had said that got him in trouble is that God made man in his own image, and man, being a gentleman, returned the favor. Mm-hmm. And I think that is definitely what we see with this golden calf situation. And that is today with the Queer God Squad.
Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about. Please like and share this and other episodes of the Queer God Squad. Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we're all in this together. Also remember, you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Bye.